Hello everybody, welcome to another video. Today it is the 30th of June, and today we're doing a brief update on the Kherson front, where the most important piece of news is the fact that the Russians have struck the Antonovsky Bridge using a hypersonic ballistic missile, the Iskander. And so they struck the southern part of the Antonovsky Bridge. They struck one span in a very precise strike, although the second span of the bridge was not destroyed. And so here you can see there's two spans to the bridge. One of them in this area over here, around here with where the rectangle is located, around there, that's where the strike occurred. And the entire reason why the strike was conducted on this area is because the Ukrainian forces that are on this bridgehead, a lot of them are setting up positions under this bridge. It gives them very good cover from Russian drones, Russian artillery, and it allows them to set up a temporary base as they try to build up their manpower accumulations and equipment. A lot of the equipment is being sent under the bridge through speedboats that are located in the city of Kherson, and then they go across the river over here at night. And so it's very important that the Russians destroy this temporary base that the Ukrainians are setting up while it's still in its infancy. And so that's what the Russians have done. And so they destroyed one span, and the Ukrainians have noticed that the Russians are ramping up their offensive activities in this direction, not really on the ground as much as from the air, because even after the Iskander strike, the Russians utilized the TOS-1A thermobaric weapons to hit Ukrainian positions in the same area. And so you're also seeing those weapons utilize a lot of missiles. And so the Ukrainians have started to mine the forward positions that they have around the E97 highway in this area over here, because this is really the only highway that the Russians could use to directly clear out the Ukrainian positions on the bridgehead. And so you can see here, they're beginning to mine all this area, which will make it harder for the Russian vehicles to advance through that area. But we do know that the Russians have taken up positions in the the eastern part of the town Dachi. And so that would be located over here. Dachi was always in the gray zone, but the Ukrainians did have a stronger grasp over it. They had more control over it a few days ago, but since then the Russians have been able to come in from the eastern side of the town and push the Ukrainians out and take up positions in some of the rural dachas in this area. And this puts them very close to the Ukrainian positions on the E97 highway and under the bridge. But they are not going to go out for a full-on assault onto the bridge itself, because first of all, as I said before, it's mined, and second of all, there is the fact that the Ukrainians do actually have the high ground in this area. So there are heights around Kherson and in some of the suburbs around Kherson, like Antonivka, and these are hills that are overlooking the Antonovsky Bridge and the Russian positions in a place like Dachi, which is located on a floodplain. And so the Ukrainians, they have their forward artillery over here, they have their mortars, and so they are firing onto the Russian positions as they're trying to advance, and it's making it very, very difficult for a frontal assault onto Dachi. So the Russians are trying to avoid that, and they find it easier to be launching these airstrikes like with the TOS-1A or with the Iskander strike, which does concentrate the Ukrainians in a singular area and kills a lot of them at once and destroys some of their key fortified positions like that bridge span. And so that is a very effective way of eliminating a lot of the Ukrainian forces that have been crossing over the river in these DRG groups. Additionally, what the strike did was that it destroyed the electronic warfare systems that the Ukrainians had set up under the bridge, because a big problem for Ukraine has been the fact that Russian drone activity is so prominent in this area, and it's been targeting a lot of the Ukrainian infantry as they're trying to cross over. And so to counteract that, the Ukrainians have been moving over electronic warfare systems that are jamming the Russian Lancet drones and the FBP drones. And so now a lot of that equipment has been destroyed due to the collapse of that span. And so now it might be easier for the Russians to operate their drones more freely in this area. So that's another thing to keep in mind. And it also destroys a temporary command center that the Ukrainians had across the river. So here's a look at the damage that's occurred. You can see, again, as I said before, this span is still standing, but this one over here has clearly been damaged. And you can see the extent of the damage that a ballistic missile causes that the Russians are utilizing compared to what the cruise missile that the Ukrainians used, the hypersonic, sorry, not hypersonic, but the cruise Storm Shadow missile that the Ukrainians used previously on the bridge that was crossing over Crimea. What that did was it caused one little hole in the bridge, but it didn't totally collapse a singular span. Over here, you could see the difference in the Ukrainian capabilities based on what weapons they are being given by the West, which is obviously not up to Ukraine's expectations, like they want ATACMS, for instance, versus what the Russians have at their disposal at the moment. And let's go and actually get another look at what's going on. Here's a view from afar of the strike, and here you can see close up some of the damage that occurred. And so you could see that some of the bases would have been under this span over here. And so that's all I have for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.